welcome to this week's episode of Business Unzipped, where I am joined by dance teacher Fiona, who also owns her own dance school in Worthing known as Grace Dance. Fiona has been teaching dance for more than 20 years and the school is thriving with a focus on positive experiences for all who attend. In addition to her mission-driven, values-led dance school, Fiona also runs online training courses for other teachers and speaks at webinars and in-person conferences. Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you. Yes, very warm.
It's so hot today.
Hot day, but it's all good. Got ice cold water.
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
So we are going to talk about Grace Dance. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about what it does for the community and then how you have led successfully, because it's actually been running for 11 years. Is that right?
Yeah, quite a long time now.
What made you want to open up in the first place? How did it all come about?
Right, yeah. So I'd been teaching for quite a few years in Brighton, when we lived in Brighton and around Sussex, for various dance schools. What tends to happen if you're a dance teacher that teaches at kind of after school dance schools and weekend dance schools, you tend to work for a few at one time usually. So I was working for a few different dance schools. Then when we moved here, it coincided with us having a family, so I was kind of doing a bit less. And then we'd actually been living here for about 5 years. And then I went for a walk literally about 2 minutes from my house one day and thought, I'll go down here. I've not been right down here. And I came across this community centre and walked in. And they were doing it up, like they were doing up the cafe. There was this incredible, lovely big hall, other rooms. And I thought, this would make a nice dance school. And literally it was partly that. I'd always actually said that I wouldn't run a dance school, having worked for other people and seen how hard it was. Yeah. But actually, I kind of couldn't get it out of my head after that. Just seeing this, I could kind of literally see it in my head, how it would work at this particular venue. And so it was partly that, and I had literally one of those kind of like Jerry Maguire, one of those like overnight mission statement kind of things. I was like, I could see it, you know. So, and really I had already had friends locally asking me to start something up. There are fantastic dance schools in our area. There are lots of them. We've got lots of great, in the way that we've got lots of good normal schools as well. There's lots of very good dance schools. So we're very fortunate, but actually I found that friends were asking me to open up something that wasn't quite so competition based, and that they could just come and not have the pressure of that kind of stuff. So that was partly my kind of reason for starting it, and also seeing it, basically literally just seeing it in this place, just I could see it happen. And feeling like it was time for me to do my own thing a little bit as well.
Oh, that's amazing. So I think growing up in a dance school, you go with the intention of just wanting to dance and like feeling free, but you're right, it is very competition heavy.
It can be,
and it's really difficult. You get sucked in and you get put into one after the other, and and then you end up competing against the girls that you absolutely love and adore, that you spend all your time with. And
I don't really know, because I didn't grow up with that. So I was incredibly lucky that I literally grew up. My local dance school is like a really well-known, I grew up in Epsom, there's a very well-known dance college there. And that was my local dance school as well. And so, and they didn't put us forward for any competitions, but I got incredible training. So I didn't really know anything about this kind of competition circuit, kind of festival circuit. I didn't really know much about that, but and things, there is actually loads of value in it. I know lots of people that run schools where they do that, and it's great for them and it's great for their families if they want that. There's definitely lots of value in it, but it's just not what everybody wants. And so I literally did see a kind of gap in the market I had people literally saying to me, can you please start something up that feels a bit more just good quality, but weekly classes without all that extra stuff. So but as I say, it's not to put down the other local dance schools, because they're all very, very good. So, but you know, it's a bit like, to me it's a bit like coffee shops, or you know, any shops or things like that. You know, there's tons of them on the high street, but everyone's got their favourite for whatever reason. And it's, you know, what's the phrase? Horses for courses? Is that the right phrase? Can't remember. Is that the right phrase?
Horses for courses.
Maybe I don't really know what that means. But it's a bit, whatever. Some people have got a very certain expectation of what they want from a children's activity. And for some people that is, I want them to be training for hours and hours a week. I want to be going around the country doing competitions or whatever it is. And that's great. But a lot of people don't want that. But
they still want the discipline that comes with dance training.
Yeah, because there is, it takes a lot to progress in dance, and there's so many life skills that come from it. And I think if anything nowadays, I'm probably more passionate about the life skills that come from a dance class than anything else, actually.
I could not agree more. Yeah. Even if you don't go on to dance, it teaches you confidence, it teaches you presentation skills. Yeah. It teaches you how to be present in a room. And for me, a lot of it's about that kind of like when you learn a music, like my son does a musical instrument, that thing of kind of incremental progress, like how much you have to practice to gain little bits of progress. And obviously the Olympics on at the moment, this is something that we kind of know about with athletes. It's those little tiny improvements that make a difference. And I think that can be applied to so many parts of life. For me, it's very much about the life skills and really just about providing a really positive place, positive activity for kids to come to. We're not a social club. They don't really get to talk much in class. We are quite disciplined. They don't come and it's not just a social activity. It's not a club as such, but it is... the idea is for it to be a positive place they can come outside of school and have a weekly routine, a weekly it's kind of a second home for some of them, really. So you said you had a vision. Was it harder than you expected in your first year? Like, tell me about your first year of opening.
I'm probably a bit unusual that I'm quite quite confident in a lot of ways. And I remember my mum saying to me, well, how do you know anyone's going to turn up? Mum? It was, I think it got harder down the line. To be honest, I did used to work in business and admin. I used to be a secondary school teacher as well. I'd worked, I think, working for other people, teaching for other dance schools for quite many years, and seeing how they all work. And they're all quite different as well, actually, very different. And kind of seeing what I did and didn't like and what does and doesn't work. And mostly what does work, I learned a huge amount from working for other people and kind of, taking how they do things. I think I was kind of ready for it. I think, I love, I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to things like systems. Yeah. I like systems. I like marketing. I don't really mind all that kind of stuff and admin and stuff. Actually, there's a lot of dance teachers out there that they just want to get on teaching the dancing and, they don't like that stuff. Actually, I do like that stuff as well.
It's so important because as much as it's a dance school, it's a business.
It has to make money in order to run. Yeah, literally. So, no, it actually wasn't super hard, and we grew fairly quickly, steadily, but fairly quickly until COVID hit, which is a whole other story. Yeah. It was an interesting kind of business to have in the pandemic. I kind of quickly took on teachers the first year or so, grew to kind of team of 5 or 6, I think I had 7 teachers at one point. And then, as I say, when COVID hit, we were year 7. We were almost as big as we are now, back in year 7. And then within the space of like a fortnight, we lost most of the upper half of the school, basically. Yeah. Because people didn't really want to try Zoom classes. Yeah. But we did that is what we did. We had to. We had to. So we had a lot of people who did do it and loved it and were really appreciative. As I say, that thing about routine, having that weekly or even, 2 or 3 times weekly for some of them, that routine of kind of familiarity, familiar group, etc., that kind of structure. I know there were a lot of parents who really appreciated the fact that we did that very quickly and did it for a long time. Yeah. And then building back post-COVID is probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. It was incredibly hard. Even though we're very popular, I have waiting lists for a lot of classes. There are a lot of things just were very different, and we had we'd lost a lot. Mm-hmm. So it was, that was very, very hard.
Yeah, it's a blow, isn't it? It's a
Oh my goodness.
really hard pill to swallow, and all that work, and you just think half of it's gone overnight.
There are a lot of dance schools and a lot of other children's activity providers that just shut and didn't open again, because it was just so hard, and of course it went on for so long. So we really, really persevered, and financially it was a huge knock for me, but I wanted to keep it, coming back to the kind of mission, wanting to really have this positive experience of weekly dance classes. That's the main thing, this positive experience of weekly dance classes where we focus on the joy of dance more than anything else. And I really wanted that to stay. And we had teachers who worked for several schools. Some of them weren't Zooming, so they had to pick up supermarket shifts. And trying to figure out whether they could keep being a dance teacher. And I was like, well, we're going to keep our classes for you, so keeping it open for the staff, that was a really big deal. But it did take quite a while to kind of get it built back up again.
So how did you do it? How did you tackle that?
Lots and lots of support from our families. The families that stuck with it, they just lots of word of mouth referrals, and but I think because of the nature of what we do, you don't, so that we kind of lost the top half of the schools in the older ones. With something like dance, you don't just pick up a load of 13, 14, 15-year-olds who can dance. You have to build up from the bottom. That's why it was hard. So it was just like, that is what we're going to have to do. There just won't be so many older classes. We still haven't quite got up to the kind of full complement of classes that we would have had by now, if that hadn't happened. So we have got some older ones, but not as many as we would have had. So it was really just a lot of work. I did invest in a little bit of business coaching, joined a very industry specific group. There's a few out there for dance schools that are just brilliant, really good business coaches for dance schools, because it's a very specific industry. And I think the support of other dance teachers, like the networks we've got now, one of the really good things to come out of COVID is that we've got this really supportive network of dance teachers who all help each other. And we give each other ideas. Oh, have you tried doing a competition on this? Or have you thought of this way of marketing? Or this is how I do this. Oh, you can save loads of time, money by doing this, etc., etc. And or things like policies about various things, safeguarding policies, that kind of stuff. All the stuff that we have to think about when you're essentially on your own running a business, because my teachers are self-employed, they come in and do their teaching. You really need, I would say to anyone setting up a business, make sure you're in some kind of industry specific Facebook group or something. It doesn't have to be a paid coaching group, but something, some kind of network where you can go to people with those little questions that go, what do you do about this? How do you handle when someone asks this? Because there's always going to be things. I thought I knew it all a few years ago, and there's just constantly things you're being asked. Or
totally agree. And actually that lived experience and having someone else's experience and being able to talk to them is invaluable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just so appreciative. We've got this tribe of dance teachers, locally and nationally, that we can kind of lean on each other a bit when we need to, and it's brilliant. I can't even remember what your question was, because I do talk.
Do you think that was around before, though? Just going back to that point, do you think that was around before? Because I agree, COVID has brought a lot of that out.
It definitely, I think it's made us pull together a lot more. Definitely. And that's a really positive thing, and especially because it can be quite I'm over here doing my thing, you're over there doing your thing. And it's always going to be a bit like that, really, in a lot of industries. But, I feel like it really has become a very positive opportunity to really collaborate and help each other and support each other, definitely.
Good. My question was about coming back from COVID.
Oh, yes.
And you found coaching really helpful.
Yeah. I think, to be honest, a lot of the business side of things I already knew quite a lot, but there were some things, it's quite an unusual business what we do. Any kind of kids activity business is quite unusual, actually. But specifically what we do, because it's not even something they just come to a weekly class for a couple of years and then, although some will only come for a couple of years, a lot of them will come at 3 and stay all the way through their childhood and teens. It's amazing. I mean, this is like why I love what I do, because it's such a privilege, right? You know, we get to be part of that village. Yeah, that village of raising a child. We get to be a little bit of that, you know, over time, even if it's for half an hour a week when they're younger, an hour or 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week as they get older. That's quite a chunk of time, actually.
It is.
And, you know, like I say, you know, we really are teaching them a lot of life skills in that. So,
but you get to see the kids' journey.
Yeah, yes, that's what I was saying. Sorry. So what I was saying was, we will possibly have them from 3 to 18 or even 19. So it's actually, and ideally that's what we want and need, because, you know, we kind of want to see them all the way through their training. You know, we don't want to end up with, you know, classes of 2 kids when they're 18. We want to have a whole bunch of them, you know. And so it's a really amazing privilege. But also, I think one of the things I really started to work on a bit more was firstly sort of retention. Our retention rate has always been very good in terms of retaining our students for quite a long time. It's been pretty good, actually. I've got fantastic teachers, basically. And we try and communicate very clearly, and, you know, we're always trying to think of things from the parent's point of view as much as possible. So that was one of the things I really kind of worked on a bit more, about how to make things a little bit more special in certain ways, all sorts of things, you know, perhaps putting on a few more events, like social events, or just little touches here and there that just make it feel a bit more special, a bit more community. So I think, working on retention. But the other really big thing that I worked on was getting really, really clear on what our values were. So I kind of knew why I'd set up the school. I wanted to provide, you know, slightly different experience to perhaps what was around, which was, you know, focus on weekly classes as opposed to competition things. But getting really clear on the kind of classes, really clarifying in my own head and for the teachers and then for parents what it is that we offer. And in many ways, the things I would list are what a lot of dance schools offer, but it's what we're very specifically focused on. So our main kind of value is the joy of dance. That's our tagline, is the joy of dance. And we want this positive weekly experience of classes. So, you know, I think, you know, hopefully most dance classes are positive, but it's very much about thinking about the child themselves and the parent and their experience, rather than it being that quite traditional approach maybe that some people might have in their head of a dance school. You know, so being very body positive, etc. Anything we can do about growth mindset, you know, we try as much as possible to talk about growth mindset, and, you know, try, if anyone says the word can't, we're like, what was that? What's that word? You know, we're having difficulty at the moment, can't quite do it yet, you know, and all that kind of stuff, which now actually they do a lot in schools. They know a lot about that. We love all that stuff about growth mindset. So positive. The other one is professional. Again, we'd hope that most dance schools have a very professional approach, and, you know, vast majority do, but particularly thinking about the experience of parents in terms of communication, you know, being very clear and organised in the way we do everything, and seeing everything from the parent's point of view, remembering that our families have lives, they have other children with other activities. You know what it's like to be very busy family with lots of different activities that you're juggling.
You know, you've only got one taxi.
Exactly. So it's very important to me that we have clear, timely communication. We try and be as organised as possible. Really, you know, invest in really decent systems for things, so it's not kind of on a shoestring systems. We really try and make sure, you know, we've got decent software, etc., that we can make everything hopefully as seamless as possible. There's always going to be an element of friction, but as seamless as possible, and trying to work on that continually. You know, our teachers are all constantly working on their continuing professional development. You know, we really take very seriously things like safeguarding, child protection, and just making sure that parents understand that if they come to us, we are going to really take seriously the care, the welfare of their child, you know, that kind of stuff. So positive, professional. What are the other values? Intelligent. So really thinking about and I'm always saying to the teachers, you know, just what else can you get in there in terms of intelligence in your planning, in terms of the words we're teaching them. One of the fantastic things, particularly with something like ballet, is they're literally learning another language.
Another language,
yeah.
They are, yeah.
And even in tap and modern, actually, you know, there's it's like another language in a sense, that all the kind of different words you're learning for different steps. But there's so many ways in which we can really get an intelligence. You know, literally teaching them about anatomy, everything that we teach about technique and about, you know, being safe with your body, about music, all sorts of things to do with music.
Yeah.
You know, teaching them words like improvisation, what that means from quite a young age, or isolation, or, you know, whatever it is, syncopation, all those things. I think that's what I loved growing up, was about my dance classes, was that kind of sense that I was having this really enriched experience where I was learning about the world and learning about art and learning about music and stuff in a way that, yeah, just enriched my life, really. And then the other one was imaginative, so just really trying to emphasise expression and storytelling as much as possible. Yeah. So trying to make sure we're getting that in there. You know, we try not to have, they might be in lines when we're getting to like reception year 1, we start to do a bit more in lines, and we're rotating lines, because that's, you know, part of, I've got to be able to see them all properly and etc., make sure we're not bumping into each other. But the emphasis, as much as we want to get good technique, we want it to be full of expression and joy. So we do quite a lot of storytelling, mime. They all learn about mime, using our actions and expressions from quite a young age. So that's really important to me as well, because that's like the fun and joy of it. You know, it's like, that's what I love about it. Yeah. So
that makes me so happy to hear about that, because you can have a dance school, and if you don't have strong values that sort of seeps from the top all the way through, meaning that everyone is clear about what this school is about, they just don't last. And you know, that there's that phrase, isn't there, culture eats strategy for breakfast. You could have the best,
I don't know that one.
You could have like the best business plan ever, but if you haven't got a good culture in your company, it's never going to happen. And actually having you live by those values, but then having all of your teachers live by those values, and then having that clear communication with the parents about what your school is about, and then they also then live by them, and then all of your students, like, that is just such an amazing recipe. Like, it makes me so happy. And we attract
those parents. This is the main thing I love. Is, so we were chatting a bit earlier about drama in not drama classes, but actual drama amongst, you know,
the
dance,
dreaded
the
dance mum world.
Stuff. We just don't have that. We are the dance school for dance mums who don't want to be dance mums, or dance families who don't want to be dance families, because that all that drama and toxicity just doesn't, to me, it just doesn't have a place in what we do at all, and it doesn't have to be like that at all. And so we attract, actually, I think we're managing just about to get this message across. I think we've kind of still working on how to get this message across, that we attract parents who specifically want to stay away from all that stuff. And, you know, they want to have their children appropriately costumed and appropriate music, with appropriate lyrics and appropriate movements for their age, you know, and they want to know that it's not going to be this toxic environment. And I'm not saying that all other dance schools are, not at all, because I know loads of them that are fantastic, but unfortunately, I think that kind of influence from America has been a little bit
it's really negative. Strong. It is.
So it can be, I think that can be quite off-putting to people, and I think it's a shame if that puts people off. It's the nature of being in a competition as well, because you're obviously rooting for your own kid, and you sort of feel that tug on your heartstrings, and ultimately they end up competing against each other, so that it is a natural element to feel defensive and then get a bit narky with the other parents. But sometimes it can be such a horrid environment, and you don't want your kids to be around that. As I say, there's value in competition for sure, but it's interesting we're talking about this during the Olympics, because I feel quite strange about, you know, like this first year that breaking's been in the Olympics, and I've always found it a bit strange with ice skating, even like you know, I can't even remember what they called it, artistic ice skating. Well, there's rhythmic gymnastics. All the kind of artistic things that I feel strange about them being kind of quantified and put in this kind of competitive class. I feel a bit strange. I mean, in a way, I think it's great that breaking's in the Olympics because it's dance, and that's great, obviously. But yeah, it is an interesting debate about how much should we be encouraging competition in this art form. It's an interesting debate. I don't think there's any right or wrong about it. I don't think we're necessarily...
No, and I think particularly if you want to go on to be a professional dancer, it is part and parcel. You audition.
There'll be
every time you need a job, you have to audition, and you are competing for one sport. And there's 200 people there, so it is.
But no one ever asks you. There's this. It's going around the dance teachers a lot actually in dance schools online at the moment. This thing. No one asks you when you go for a job. What have you won?
Yeah.
No one no director or choreographer will ever ask, what have you won? That's just never going to happen.
No.
They're not interested. Yeah. They're interested in what you can bring to that
audition.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny, isn't it?
Yeah. It just wouldn't happen.
No. Someone
can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't happen.
No. That's very true. That is very true. So I have spoken about what I think dance can bring to young people, but what do you see in terms of do you see, particularly if you've seen them from young growing up through school, do you see them growing confidence? What do you think dancing as a child can do for you?
So I think very much, did I already talk about the incremental steps? Those kind of incremental steps of progress, of learning a skill over a long period of time. I think particularly now, when everything, I know it's a bit of a cliche now to say, everything's so instantaneous and the Instagram generation, but it is really true that everything's at the fingertips now of everyone the whole time. We're used to being able to get everything we need straight away, and everything's so instantaneous. Kids, young people do struggle with having the patience to do stuff. They really do. And they do want to achieve things quickly. And actually, this is something, learning, particularly something like ballet, you can't learn that quickly. It has to be over many hours, many weeks and years, to actually be able to do it properly and safely, and to actually be able to execute those steps. So I think it's that incremental bits of progress and that discipline and patience it takes to have a long-term goal and learn something over a period of time. I think that is one of the main things. But when you think about it as well, being in a Leard hard and tights, and the reason they're in Leard hard and tights, if anyone doesn't know, is partly just so we can see exactly what's going on with the body. Are they doing everything? The alignment, the posture, they're doing it safely, etc. But when you think about it, being in a Leard hard and tights could feel quite vulnerable. Yeah. If they're used to it from a young age, and they are learning, for me, that feeling of learning to do something really great with your body is going to be so great for them as they grow up into adulthood, that they sense their body, they know their body can do something really great, can do difficult things, can do things that give them endorphins, whatever we're doing activity wise, physical activity wise, will give us endorphins. But that feeling of creating lovely, I can't help doing it as I'm saying, creating lines. A lovely line. Yes, because you danced, creating a lovely line, that lovely feeling of creating a beautiful line with your body, or a really amazing couple of moments, powerful moments with your body. That's really special, to have that feeling that my body can do this great thing. Or in terms of expression, I can really tell a story with my movements, my face. That is amazing. And I think for weekly, again, that going back to the thing about weekly classes, having a positive weekly routine of physical activity, we're working on something, and kind of there's, we don't really have them have their phones out or anything. They're in class, they're getting on with it. There isn't time for anything else. They're focusing on something. It's a kind of mindful activity. I think it's one of the ultimate mindful activities, dancing. Absolutely, I agree. So that having that space week on week, some of them come 1 hour a week, some come a few hours a week, is really. I know parents really appreciate what that does for their kids. And I sometimes think, actually, I wonder if some parents might not realise how much it is doing for their kid, because they don't know any other way. So if they didn't have it, they don't know what it would be like if they didn't have it. I agree. But also in terms of saying about confidence, so we run a scheme for, I haven't really named it yet, but we've got a kind of scheme for our high school age dancers to assist in classes as well. And we actually kind of go through like a folder of different things with them that they can do to help in class, and kind of how they're getting on, and we kind of give them feedback about how they can help.
Well, like
class.
A junior training.
Yeah. So they're not going to really take a part of class on their own, obviously. But they really grow in confidence assisting. We've seen some really fantastic assistants grow up the past couple of years. In terms of their interpersonal skills, communication skills, the confidence to actually go up to a child and perhaps put their hand behind their back, to be careful with touch, but they put their hand behind their back and perhaps show them how to do something with their hand, or herding some kids from one part of the room to another. Literally just how you do that takes quite a lot of confidence for a young person.
It does.
So that part of things can be really amazing. We actually did a little mini showcase recently just for younger ones, a little show, and we got the older ones to do a little performance in the middle to kind of break it up and kind of inspire the little ones. And they were also helping backstage, just kind of again kind of herd them along the corridor and be there and inspiring them. So kind of being role models I think is a really massive part of it. And it's a really, again, there aren't many activities, I think. I guess there's quite a lot of physical kids activities, but there aren't that many things where you have the opportunity to be part of something with kind of all ages as well, and being that kind of role model. I think is really special. So that's something we're continuing to kind of develop, is that kind of scheme for growing assistants in the school.
I agree. And you picked up on an interesting point about delayed gratification, and I completely agree. We are an instantaneous I order everything on Amazon Prime. It needs to be here by tomorrow, otherwise I contemplate whether I actually want to buy it. But there is something in that, because obviously in the world of business you get knocked back quite a few times, and it does take time to actually gain that experience. And from my former dance days, the day that I got my point shoes was like, and I had been wanting these for years. All you want when you start ballet is to put on those point shoes, and it feels like you're never going to get it. And you go through all of these exams, and you've got to get to that point.
It's this ultimate goal, isn't it?
But when you get it, that feeling is like no other. Until your feet start bleeding, and then you realise it may not be all that good, but still, that moment is amazing. But actually, it's so worth it, and it's so much more satisfying than someone just being given something instantly. So delayed gratification is brilliant. And then the other thing,
that was the phrase I was looking for, delayed gratification.
And the other thing is posture.
So
obviously there's such a thing, what's it called, like text neck or something, where you just stoop down, because we're always looking at screens or like on computers, and we're not sitting up straight. So actually, from a child's point of view, that's really helping sort of counteract that sort of negative body.
It's literally about how you carry yourself in the world. Literally about how you carry yourself. So do you feel that that's helped you literally carry yourself better in the world?
When you are, particularly if you're in the world of business and you have to walk in to present something, being if a female, if you're going into a boardroom with lots of males, if you go in all sort of shy and rounded shoulders, then it is a bit like, you've got to go in with confidence, and you only can do that when you have to demonstrate it. It has to sort of seep out of you.
Any kind of public speaking, like I've done a bit of public speaking the past couple of years, which even as a really experienced teacher, speaking to adults is like a whole other thing.
Kids are easy.
And I have found I'm like, well, I just put on my teacher posture.
You do.
My dancer's posture.
You do.
It's a performance.
And it makes everyone else feel like they have confidence in you as well.
Exactly. That's a major thing. I do think literally, you're making me think, I need to write some social media posts about posture. And
it's great. Honestly, it's so good, because that's all they say now, isn't it? Because it's really worrying how sort of droopy everyone's becoming.
And obviously the big thing I haven't even said is just that physical activity thing. I talked about how it can feel great to do something good with your body, but just literally actually being healthy. It's quite a good thing. It's quite a good thing.
So you've successfully run your school for 11 years, and you just mentioned that you also do speaking. Tell me about that.
So during COVID, I was encouraged by my business coach then, so very specific to the dance industry. She was really inspiring us one day, really encouraging us to think about what we can give back to the industry, to the dance school industry or dancing industry or arts industry. you know, I think partly we were thinking at the time, it was sort of mid-COVID, you know, we were thinking about how could we perhaps diversify what we do as well. So thinking about, okay, well, could there be some other source of income? But really thinking about what we can give back to the industry. I think because we had all felt we'd already come together and, yeah, this is we're a really fantastic bunch of people in the arts, you know, there was that real sense, wasn't there, that all these creative people in the arts really had to pull out their creativity, and we really did. So, yeah, think about what we can give back, actually contribute to the industry. I had a kind of story in my head of my story, really, when I started teaching. I wasn't super excited about going into teaching dancing. I don't mind saying that now.
Yeah.
I kind of fell into it a little bit, but kind of learned to love it, and then really learned to get good at it. And as I got good at it, I learned to love it, and then became really passionate about it. But when I started, I really didn't have a clue what I was doing with the very little ones at all. I really didn't.
Yeah.
And
they're hard creatures to understand.
I think unfortunately for a lot of dancers, and I guess it might be the same with a lot of the arts, actually, maybe with music as well, I don't know. I think unfortunately there can be this sense that when you're like a professional dancer or a professional level, oh well, dancing with little ones, that's going to be easy. Yeah. Right? I want to go in and teach the advanced classes, and I was teaching advanced modern and loving it, that was my thing. But I was given these little classes, and I was like, oh, well, okay, I'll just stick on some music. How hard can it be? Yeah. And of course, it was hard. The most challenging class of the week. And I really had to work very hard to work out how to teach little ones.
Yeah.
And I shadowed other people, was mentored by other people who were fantastic. So glad I had them. But there have never really been, until quite recently, there hasn't been much in terms of resources for actually training dance teachers to teach very little ones specifically. Yeah. It isn't a huge part of the training that we do, actually, weirdly.
You learn the curriculum.
You learn the syllabus.
Yeah.
And you learn about health and safety and, teaching safe technique and stuff. You don't really learn how to handle a class of 10 to 15. I know some people have more than 10 or 15, but 10 to 15 little 3-year-olds in a class, which is something else. That can be
quite feral.
That is something else completely. You're not thinking so much about technique. It's about how do you keep them engaged, and doing what you're supposed to be doing. So I worked really hard on that for quite a lot of years, and kind of put together my own class plans, and worked out what were the kind of key strategies to kind of keep them engaged, and all the rest of it. And that really became what I love doing. And now that's like, I'd happily teach preschool classes every day. If I had the time, I would do that.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Really turned.
Yeah, really turned. So that's my story, really. I kind of had to work out how to do it, and then actually got really good at it. And now I just love doing that. And so I now train other dance teachers how to teach preschool. And I love it because it is actually a struggle. I think there can almost be a bit of a stigma for dance teachers. Like, aren't we supposed to be just like great with little kids and magical creatures with little kids? But actually it doesn't come naturally to a lot of people, and we aren't necessarily told, well, this is how you plan a class for little ones. For me, it's all about storytelling and moving through some kind of story, and then you weave into that various semi-technical elements, but it's all about general movement, musicality, mime at that age, So I've done quite a few webinars, online courses. I run an online course quite regularly. I've got that coming up in a few weeks, just do that online for teachers. And then I've done a couple of things in person as well. So it's
and you enjoy that part.
I love it. And I also help other dance school owners. I've done quite a lot of one-to-one with dance school owners, helping them put together like their curriculum for their preschool dance specifically, because there's all these like franchises out there which are all great. There's like people heard of Baby Ballet and various franchises or licensed syllabus out there, but actually most dance schools quite like to do their own thing. But sometimes it's just how to kind of really solidify that, and okay, well, what is it we're trying to put out there?
Structure it.
Structure it. What's the kind of description of our classes, that kind of stuff. So I help people do that as well, which I really love doing.
That's
really
great.
Love doing. Yeah.
So what's next for Grace School?
Just kind of building on the foundations that we've really laid. Because I think it's funny, isn't it? 11 years, and you sort of think, well, I thought at year 7 when COVID hit, I was like, just before it hit, I was like, well, I kind of got it all sorted now. I've got my systems in place. It's all good. I know what I'm doing. I've got this down. And then of course it was just like, wow. So So I think now that we've kind of rebuilt again, it's kind of looking forward. How can we just continue to make things even better all the time? How can we just continue to make sure we're giving students what they need and what they want as well? It's always a bit of a balance, that what they need and what they want, and what parents need and want. It's balancing that, and just making sure that we're keeping up to date, making sure that we're trying to constantly improve how we do things, in terms of actual classes, the content of classes, and actually how we run things.
Do you get feedback from students and parents?
I get lots and lots of lovely Google reviews. We always get, just at the end of the year, we always got loads of cards with amazing messages and things. And then I do surveys occasionally, usually about quite specific things for specific ages. But we do surveys as well, which has been interesting. So I think things have changed quite a lot in terms of like exams and stuff as well. A lot of people aren't as interested in exams as they used to be. So, but we're still doing those to an extent because we know that the value of those is this goal to work towards, and again that goal to progress towards is important. So
get those point shoes.
It's a big deal. We literally just assessed some girls the other day, and we've given them some exercises to over the summer and keep working on. We'll reassess them towards Christmas, and maybe it'll be a Christmas present, you know.
Oh gosh.
Exciting. It is exciting.
Amazing. Lovely. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Sorry for my rambling.
Great. No, we could talk for hours. Honestly, we could talk for hours.
I can always talk. It's one of my special gifts.
Loved it. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks. Thank you.